Imagine a burning building. Smoke thickens the air, alarms are screaming. You don't have time to think, only time to move. There are two rooms. In one, there's a human stranger, someone you've never met. No history, no story. Just a life you're told matters, because it's human. In the other room, there's a dog. It's terrified, barking, scratching at the door. Its eyes are wide, locked onto yours, not with understanding, but with raw panic. You can only save one. And before your mind finishes forming a thought, something inside you reacts. Maybe you hesitate, maybe you feel a pull toward the dog, maybe your chest tightens in a way you didn't expect. If that happened, even for a split second, you're not alone, and you're not broken. More and more people are willing to admit something that used to stay hidden. They feel a faster, stronger surge of empathy for animals than for other humans. They grieve their pets more deeply than distant relatives. They feel their stomach drop over a video of a mistreated cat while scrolling past headlines about human suffering. And that realization is uncomfortable because we're taught a clear rule: people come first. Human life is supposed to hold the highest moral value. So when your instincts don't follow that script, the question hits hard. What does that say about you? About us? Are we becoming colder toward people? More detached? Even misanthropic? Or is something else happening beneath the surface? Something psychological, biological, and deeply human that we've never been taught how to recognize? That's where this conversation really begins. That uncomfortable feeling doesn't come from the instinct itself. It comes from the rule it just violated. Most of us were raised with a clear moral hierarchy. People come first. Human life is taught as sacred, superior, unquestionable. It's woven into our education, our religions, our laws, and our social expectations. So when your body reacts in a way that doesn't line up with that belief, your mind rushes in to correct it. You tell yourself you're being irrational, heartless, selfish. You wonder if something in you has gone wrong. But that judgment misunderstands what just happened. Your instinct wasn't making a moral decision. It wasn't weighing values or ranking lives. It was responding to immediacy, fear, vulnerability, and emotional clarity. Your nervous system doesn't speak the language of ethics. It speaks the language of survival. That's why the reaction feels wrong. Not because it is wrong, but because two different systems are speaking at the same time. One is cultural, slow and learned. The other is biological, fast and automatic. When they don't agree, we experience that clash as guilt. And that guilt often gets misinterpreted as something darker. Maybe I care less about people. But psychology points in a different direction. This isn't about losing your humanity. It's about understanding how empathy actually works, before we judge ourselves for having it. To understand why that instinct appears so quickly, we need to let go of a comforting idea that empathy is fair, that it responds equally to all suffering. It doesn't. Empathy is selective, and more than anything else, it is drawn to vulnerability. When people are asked to respond to stories of harm, a consistent pattern shows up. Adult humans tend to trigger less immediate emotional response than children or animals, not because their lives matter less, but because our brains perceive them differently. The moment we see an adult human, our minds begin to assign agency. We assume capability, choice, context. Without realizing it, we start asking silent questions. Could they have avoided it? Did they provoke it? Do they have resources, power, options? Empathy slows when responsibility enters the picture. But when the victim is clearly defenseless, an infant, a puppy, a frightened animal, those questions disappear. There is no imagined backstory that explains the pain away. The suffering feels undeserved, absolute, and urgent. Nothing interferes with the protective response. This is what psychologists refer to as the empathy gap. Not a gap between humans and animals, but between those we perceive as powerful and those we perceive as powerless. Your nervous system is built to respond fastest to beings that cannot protect themselves. It prioritizes innocence over similarity, vulnerability over identity. That mechanism evolved long before moral philosophy or social rules existed. Its job was simple: protect what is most at risk. This is why a single image of a hurt animal can overwhelm us emotionally, while large-scale human suffering can feel distant or numbing. Complexity dilutes empathy. Ambiguity weakens it. Scale overwhelms it. So when your reaction pulls harder toward an animal, it isn't making a statement about whose life is worth more. It's responding where vulnerability is clearest and where empathy doesn't have to argue with judgment first. That response may feel confusing, but it is not evidence of cruelty. It's evidence of how deeply your system is wired to protect the innocent before it ever has time to think. There's another layer to this reaction that often goes unspoken. It isn't just who we feel empathy for, but how much we can afford to feel at all. We live in constant exposure to human suffering. Wars, crimes, corruption, stories stacked on top of stories, day after day. The scale is overwhelming, the causes are complex, and the solutions feel far beyond our reach. When suffering becomes too vast to hold, the mind adapts. It narrows. Psychologists call this compassion fatigue. It's not indifference, it's self-protection. Your emotional system learns to ration empathy because feeling everything would collapse you. So it becomes more selective, more cautious about where it invests care. Animal suffering doesn't carry the same cognitive weight. It's smaller, clearer, and morally uncomplicated. There's a victim, and there's harm, nothing to debate. That clarity makes the pain feel manageable. You can respond without drowning in context, politics, or blame. This doesn't mean human suffering matters less to you. It means your system is trying to survive a world that asks you to care about everything, all the time. So empathy doesn't disappear, it concentrates. And in a cruel, chaotic world, it often flows toward places where innocence is obvious, and where caring doesn't demand that you solve the impossible before you're allowed to feel. Beyond empathy itself, there's a quieter reason animals often feel easier to be around. Interacting with humans is exhausting in ways we rarely name. Every human interaction carries layers of interpretation: tone, timing, status, intention. You're not just listening, you're monitoring how you're being perceived. Did you say too much? Too little? Did that joke land wrong? Did your silence mean something it shouldn't have? Psychologists refer to this as interactional fatigue. It's the mental drain that comes from constant